Hello, my name is Abel. Y'all probably know me if you've been watching WoW very much. Usually though, you see me behind the guitar, so tonight I get to just talk for a change. Our topic for today, we're talking in the Disconnected series, and we're talking about the importance of affirmation. So first of all, let me begin with a word from Scripture. This is from Ephesians 6, verses 2 and verses 9 through 10. So Ephesians 6:2 says, "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." And then later in that chapter, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers." So as we're doing good to others, as we're carrying each other's burdens, how do we build each other up? And that's really what we're talking about with affirmation. Now, that can sometimes be a little bit hard to find. And if you think about why that is, a lot of times we interact with each other out of insecurity. So if I'm in this place of fear, I'm afraid if they really knew who I am, they wouldn't really like me. If I'm talking and interacting with others from that place of fear and insecurity, a lot of times I may say things that tear other people down. And how many times do we do that? We cut people down, we tear people down, and a lot of times it's out of that insecurity. Now, each of us does that, at one point or another, but how many times have we been on the receiving end of that? How much does it hurt to be cut down or torn down by someone else? And it's not fun for anyone. So how do we avoid that? How do we come from that place of security and affirming others? So we're going to learn some practical things for that tonight. Good place to start always is awareness and listening. You can't affirm somebody else if you don't really pay attention to what they're doing or what they're saying. So invest attention in the other person. That's a really good place to start. So if you're having a conversation, be present in that conversation. Don't just look like you're paying attention, but you're not really paying attention. My wife catches me when I do that sometimes. I'm guilty of that on occasion. Pay attention to what the other person says or does, and be sure what it is that you're affirming. Just make sure that you're getting that right. One really good tool that I learned along the way is the ask one follow-up question. So make a habit when somebody tells you something, I took a test today. Don't just say, that's nice. No, what was the test in? It was in such and such and such and such. Did you have to study for that? So you see how when they tell you something, try to come up with one follow-up question that encourages them to share more information. It's amazing how much more information people will share when you ask them things that invite them to share. So that's, like I said, that's a really good habit, a really good practical tool of affirming to get other people to open up and share more. So encouraging those conversations, showing that what they say has value. You're investing in listening. And so that is a form of affirming there. There's what's called the non-anxious presence. Non-anxious presence. That's a really important one. And what that means is I'm listening to another person, not trying to fix them, not trying to solve their problems, but I'm listening to them because what this says has value. So I am spending time where that person is, in their emotional situation, whatever that may be. Now, I will admit and confess, we guys, men, we struggle with this, right? How many times we like to fix things, we like to solve things. I won't speak for all men, but I think that is something that's common. And sometimes it's that intentional, I know I would like to fix this, but let that go and just be in the moment with the other person. Why is that hard? Because it sometimes means you have to be emotionally vulnerable, and that's sometimes not comfortable. Make a habit of doing that. I think it's a good goal of working on for all of us in many ways, of just being in the moment with a person, listening, validating, being that non-anxious presence, right? So another factor of affirmation is humility. We talked about not interacting with others out of that place of insecurity. So what is humility? This is such a frequently misunderstood thing. So let's talk about that for a minute. Sometimes people think humility is, I'm just a terrible person. I'm a worm. I'm a dog. No, that's not humility. That is taking pride in how low you are, right? That's not real humility at all. Humility, if I had to sum it up, would say that it is a sober and honest awareness of who I am, and not expending significant time or energy trying to be more or less than that. So how do we cultivate that? An awareness of who I am as a redeemed child of God, an awareness of who I am when I am God's, when I am belonging to God. So who am I as God's Abel, if you will? And just letting that be enough, not trying to be more than God's able or less than God's able, but just be there. And it's amazing how much you find when you're not expending extraordinary time and energy trying to be more or less than that, what you can actually accomplish is actually pretty cool. So why do I go into all of this? With affirmation, if I'm interacting with other people from that place of security, that's a lot of what that is about. Recognizing who I am in God, being content and secure in that, and then interacting with others from that place of security. That is a huge foundation for affirmation in our relationships with others. So remember that. Remember who you are as a beloved child of God, and interact with others from that place of security, right? So I will say this, what do we do? Sometimes you say, well, do I always have to affirm others, even sometimes when what they're doing is not helpful or they're not making good choices? All right, so let's get into that just a little bit. Wisdom and tough love. So what does it mean when we need to temper our affirmation with others? And how do we do that well? So, first of all, it has to be in the context of a trusting relationship. If I don't have a trusting relationship with a person that I'm trying to sort of confront or share tough love with, that's not tough love, that's just annoying, honestly. So recognizing that as a trusting relationship there, when I have that trusting relationship with somebody, and then maybe when I suggest, that might not be the most constructive way to proceed with that. Affirm what you can, but at the same time maybe suggest you might think about something else. That, I think, again, within the context of a trusting relationship, can be a constructive approach, if that's helpful. Let love lead. That's the point, is whether you're in a trusting relationship with that other person or whether you're not, let love lead. You can't go wrong doing that. And that is an important thing towards remembering how to affirm. Be affirming in what is constructive in our relationship with others. So, another factor, what is my role? What is my role with this person? So for instance, and sometimes I've seen this with when somebody's taking care of an elderly parent. There's this question of, am I their social worker or am I their child? Those are two different roles. And sometimes how I affirm some things, how I show tough love in some things, really depends on what my role is with this person that I'm interacting with. For instance, the question comes up, am I supposed to be a friend with my child, with my son or daughter? And I would say, okay, if being a friend means I'm going to share all of my, unburden myself, all of my life's problems on them, as a parent might not be the best approach to things. But I would rather be my child's friend than my child's enemy, right? What that means is these same principles of interacting from a place of security, listening, paying attention, showing that what they say has value. All of those ways of affirming somebody, I think that is very appropriate in a relationship with a child. So, but just recognizing what form that takes is going to look a little differently based on what social role you're interacting with that person from. So just pay attention to that. What is that context in which I'm affirming, and from what type of social role am I affirming in that? Always honor the other person's dignity, just like Jesus did. So Jesus, when he healed somebody, when he listened to somebody, when he walked with somebody, there was always this sense of respecting the other person's dignity. Now you could say, with the Pharisees, did he respect their dignity? The thing is this, Jesus was harsh with the Pharisees, yeah, but again, it was not out of this place of insecurity. Jesus was not being insecure in his interactions with the Pharisees. It was really coming from a place of, this is not what you're doing, and even as I love you, I'm going to tell you it's not right what you're doing. And so it's confronting from that place of security. So even in confronting or affirming or whatever we do, honor the person's dignity. And so leading with that respecting dignity as a way that we affirm someone, very important. as well. So the last thing I want to share with what we do with affirmation. How do we receive affirmation? So a lot of this is about how we give affirmation. How do we receive this in a healthy way? As a musician, this comes up a lot. This is one I learned this lesson from my jazz band director in college. And he taught me a lot about professionalism as a musician. And I learned so many important lessons from this guy, from Robert Meeks is his name. But one of the things he taught us is, as a musician, when someone comes up to you and says, oh, hey, man, you did a great job on that music. So we can do a couple things with that. You know, there's the arrogant, oh, I know. That's not a really great thing. You can do the, oh yeah, but man, I really messed up that solo on measure such and such. Don't do that. That's not what the other. When a person comes up and thanks you, what do? You smile, and tells you they really appreciate it. You smile and you say thank you. So how do you receive affirmation? Just acknowledge that the other person is affirming you, and that's a really good thing to do. That applies to professionalism as a musician, but also in conversations. If someone says, hey, you know, I really appreciate and affirm what you're doing in this, smile and say thank you. And acknowledge that that person is trying to build you up. Recognize that, acknowledge that, and recognize they're coming from a good place and intention with that. So all of this hopefully gives us some helpful ideas on how we can have healthy, affirming relationships with others. In conclusion, I would just leave you with these points. Pay attention to others. Verbalize what you appreciate. You can feel that you appreciate that inwardly. If you never verbalize it, they're never going to know. Keep it honest, so make sure you're affirming something that they actually did and that you were paying attention to, right? And always lead from love. That's just a really good idea and a good approach to that. So hopefully that gives you some helpful ideas on how to be affirming of others.